Max, you have gone so far as to say social media is like a drug. Tell us more.
So the question that I spent the last 4 or 5 years trying to answer was, what is social media doing to us as individuals? Because we all have kind of a sense that it is doing something to change our politics, to polarize us, to pull us towards extremes, that spending time on it feels unpleasant, that it maybe exposes us or pulls our opinions in ways that we wouldn't experience otherwise. But the question I wanted to answer is, what does that actually mean for the way that our brains work, for the way that we behave? And I spent those years working with a lot of the world's leading scientists and experts, neuroscientists who were studying its effect on your brain, social psychologists, political scientists, people in Silicon Valley, whistleblowers in the companies who were trying to sound the alarm about the effects of these platforms. And what I found, and what a lot of these experts found, is that, as you said, it operates like a drug, not just in the sense that it's addictive or that it's hard to turn off, but like a drug, it plays on your brain chemistry, it plays on your behavior, it changes your cognition, it even changes the way that your mind processes right and wrong, what you think is true and not true. And the effect of that is something that is subtle, because it plays out through these platforms that look like it's reflecting our reality and news and what our friends are saying back to us, but is in fact like, if you think of an experiment with a rat, knocking in a lever and getting feedback, getting a food pellet or an electric jolt, that training, that is exactly what social media does by design. It is designed to train you to behave and to think and to act in certain ways that are profitable for the companies, but that, even if that was not specifically the company's intent, ended up being enormously impactful for the way our societies and politics work.
Well, talk to me about that point, because you take sort of that rewiring of the brain, the way in which it has reconditioned us, the way in which it distorts reality. You then layer in nefarious players who want to introduce misinformation into what is already a distorted reality. Where does that leave us?
So I think something that's really important to understand about how this works, and therefore where it is taking us, is that a lot of the people who we once thought of as the kind of social media dark arts wizards, like the Breitbart people, or even, Trump early on a few years ago when he was not a big figure on the political scene, we think of them as the master manipulators who were turning the platforms toward their end. And in fact, what we know now from a lot of really cutting edge research is they are really, in many ways, passive beneficiaries. We looked at study after study and experiment after experiment that found that people who posted certain kinds of very specifically provocative and extreme content that played on this very specific set of emotions, like tribalism, us versus them, a kind of misinformation that told you to distrust institutions and gatekeepers, and told you to take matters into your own hands, that set a really extreme form of right and wrong that endorsed vigilantism, that the platform, even if this kind of post came from a user with very few followers, with very little reach, the platforms, and this is all of them, would take that post, pick it out and spread it out to people, would push it to people, because the platforms had learned that this was a kind of content that would be especially engaging, not just for people who read it, but especially for people who post it. There's this really fascinating experiment that I write about in the book where researchers took a bunch of people, a bunch of regular everyday social media users, and they gauged all of them before the experiment took place on their level of outrage as people. How prone were they to outrage as just a normal person in their everyday life? And what they found is that when people spent time on social media, if they sent a post or a tweet or posted a YouTube video that expressed any kind of outrage in it, two things would happen. First, the platform would artificially amplify how much reach that got. And the second thing it would do is that feedback that they got would make that user want to post more and more. And the really disturbing thing is that would change their level of outrage as a person. Even when they were not online, even when they were away from social media, they became less prone to using their kind of intellectual mind and more prone to feeling angry and feeling this sense of tribalist anger.